Hey there, good people, and welcome back to the DNP podcast. I'm your host, Deb Agbade, and I'm ready for another week of NFL action. This episode is going to be a New York special as we'll look at the New York Giants' unfortunate collapse this past week and whether it's something to come, and the New York Jets who look set for a fire sale and which teams should make moves for their players. And as I'll do every week, picks for 6 games on the weekend against the spread in our Pick 6. This pod is available on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts, so like, rate, subscribe, and all that good stuff so you can stay up to date with each upload. So in the late window on Sunday, we saw one of the most improbable comebacks you could imagine, as the Denver Broncos scored 33 points in the fourth quarter after being shut out in the first 3 to beat the New York Giants, who will be kicking themselves as they were very much in control and looking to get their 3rd win of the season. So when you see that game, you wonder what should a Giants fan really take away from the game, because you look at, what the offense was able to do throughout that game and you're like, okay, this is the Denver Broncos defense, the vaunted, leading the league in sacks, going on the road to face them as well. And you think, wait, we're able to put 32 on them on the road, away from home, and being able, looking very much set for a win. Our defense is keeping the offense at bay, which granted an offense that looked shaky against the New York Jets in London the week prior. But, okay, we're able to compete with the big boys. You look what they're able to do against the Philadelphia Eagles on Thursday Night Football, a dominant performance there, 34 points at home, and keeping, Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, AJ Brown at bay. And okay, this is a team that is built to compete and built to do something. And obviously, the fourth quarter happens, and you're like, damn, here, same old Giants. We're just going to kind of falter and be the same old sort of situation where we can't, just going to lose, which is unfortunate. And you'd say, yeah, on the surface, that is very much what happened. It's not a comeback that should have been allowed at all, and you are right to be disappointed as a Giants fan to have come away with the loss there. But there are signs of growth, and there are signs that we're making movements in the right direction, which I guess when you're a team that's not looking likely for the playoffs, and it's very fair to say that the Giants, when it comes to playoff contention, aren't in that race. But you can look at what you have and say you have hope. There's reason for hope, and that's kind of all you need. You look at the other teams, you look across, the other New York team, and you're like, where's the hope for the Jets? Where's the hope for the Dolphins, right? They've even put the money down on a big quarterback, and it hasn't worked out for them. You look at the Cleveland Browns, and yes, they got the win, and there are pieces there, but that quarterback position, it's Dylan Gabriel, who even in a dominant win didn't look great. And then you're looking at Shedeur Sanders, where is he the franchise guy? And then even if we do get the quarterback, or do get a number 1 overall pick, we've had number 1 overall picks or top picks in the past at the quarterback position, and we just can't develop them. So when you're the New York Giants and you look at what Jackson Dart's been able to do, and you look at how he was able to now manage the offense against the Denver Broncos and Eagles in back-to-back games, you're looking at an 88th percentile EPA performance against the Denver Broncos. Again, one of the best defenses on the road at Mile High, where many have gone in the past 2 seasons since Vance Joseph has come in there, and you've got Nick Bonito playing on that pace, and a Defensive Player of the Year in PS2. Many experienced quarterbacks have gone in there and failed and looked shaky and not been able to get a sniff, and Dart's been able to come in and put up points. And you even have Nick Bonito saying on the Up and Adams show that, wow, that Dart kid's a lot better than I thought. And it's right, because this is looking like the New York Giants have their franchise guy, and I think or at least the piece to build around, and when you have that is when, as a Giants fan or as a fan of a football team in general, you have hope, because that is the nucleus, that is the first piece that allows you to really grow. Very few teams have sustained success with mediocre to low tier quarterbacks. Like, that's just not the NFL anymore. That's just not the times we live in when it comes to building a contender or building sustained success. Like, it just doesn't happen. So if you're a Giants fan, you can look at that and say, okay, you started 0-3, but since Dart's come in with 2-2, if you looked at it before the season, you say you're a 500 team, you take that given the schedule. Those both wins have come at home, so you're difficult to play at MetLife at home, and that's kind of the start of things. He's had 10 total touchdowns, 7 passing, 3 on the ground, and then 3 interceptions. So more often than not, he's taking care of the ball. Obviously, there is that interception in the game that was the catalyst, you could easily say, for the Broncos' comeback, but very much wasn't. You wouldn't say the loss was on him. When the Broncos go up, play, Dart still was able to move down the field and then have the ball in his hands to put, the Giants ahead with a go-ahead score. So he's clearly not shrinking in the big moments. Like when many would have folded, many could have easily not driven down the field and say, we've had this really bad, collapse, you could say, for the Broncos being able to get back in the game, and you can be a bit down on yourself. No, he, with a controversial pass interference penalty, nevertheless, he was able to bring the team up the field, get to the 1 yard line, have the ball in his hands, and reach out for the touchdown. Those are traits of a franchise quarterback. That's just the way it is. And if you're a Giants fan, that is something to be positive about, despite the loss. And if you're going to lose in a situation where you're expected to lose regardless, you'd want to do it in a way where you can have hope for the future. Because, without hope, what was really the point? So I think one thing I would say for sure is that I think the Giants definitely have their quarterback of the future. And honestly, I would say that Daboll's probably the coach to take him to that high level that you'd want him to be at, because clearly loves him. Clearly the quarterback that Daboll wanted in this cycle in terms of the off-season and the draft class. He's, every time you see Dart do anything good, you see in Daboll look like the happiest man on earth. Like, look at this beautiful man who's scoring touchdowns for me and making plays. I was stuck with, Russell Wilson earlier in the season, and even if Russ goes in, boy, do you see a difference in Daboll's mood there. So he's attached to the hip, and he's very much invested in Dart's success, which is obviously his success as well, which is why he's so eager to have Dart in there as much as he can, because Russell Wilson, I just look at the Eagles game and it's like, oh god, make like screaming at doctors, which obviously you shouldn't do, and is not a good look for an NFL head coach, especially considering the fact that it was concussion. But this is someone in Brian Daboll who is very careful in terms of wanting Dart to develop and be out there and succeed in his offense. And clearly, in the past 2 games, Dart has, even to be fair, since Dart's come in, he's been, giving the Giants the best chance to win and giving them chances to win, which at the quarterback position is all you can do. You're not losing me the game. You're not throwing moon balls for interceptions and only having one way to play the game. You're able to make the right reads, the right throws, the right times to scramble, which Dart has scrambled a lot, and that is another thing. When in this day and age, you want your quarterbacks to run around and have legs and not be statues in the pocket. And Dart has been able to maneuver the pocket in a way that makes him able to make plays. So, yeah, that's just a guy that is able to, make the Giants a team that in the future, not for this season, but able to compete at the highest level, which, as long as things around him are putting him in a position to do so, believe Dart is capable of, taking a team to where they need to go and where they want to go, or giving them a chance to do that. So if you're wanting to give your quarterback the best opportunity to win games, one way of stunting that development is by, in his second year, bringing another coach. And you only do that in a situation where you don't feel that the quarterback is developing enough, or if the quarterback looks bad and you're like, wait a minute, this isn't what we drafted, this isn't what we saw in college, it's probably because you don't have the right play caller on his side. And so far during his NFL career, I think it's fair to say that Jackson Dart's looked composed and looks comfortable with what he's been asked to do. So in a situation like that, why would you take away the guy who's given him the opportunity to succeed? And despite what many Giants fans admittedly would probably think, that Daboll's, lost and he's only going to continue the losing, and how, Saquon and all that sort of stuff, and Shane, which are all fair gripes to have, but when you look at what you have now, like Cam Scarborough is doing perfectly fine, much cheaper in the 4th round rookie deal. So I just don't see a reason why the Giants would, or I see why they would, but I personally think that they'd be better off keeping Daboll, because I think Jackson Dart will succeed because that's the guy who's brought him in and the one who is very invested in making sure he does what's required of him and being the best that he can be. Like, look at what, Josh Allen was able to do with Daboll as offensive coordinator. And not to say that Dart's going to be Josh Allen, but you could definitely say that he's developed quarterbacks in the past, and he wants someone with that experience of how to make someone the best version of himself. And he was able to do that with Daniel Jones. I guess probably say Daniel Jones is looking the best he's done in his career with Shane Steichen, but as of that point, it was very obvious that Daniel Jones was playing at his optimum level within that New York system, and that was Daboll's first year, and he earned Coach of the Year. So if someone's got that capabilities to them, I think it's fair to say that he's able to do that with your rookie quarterback that will in the future become one of the quarterbacks that's able to bring the Giants to success. Because you wouldn't say that Eli was very much the best quarterback in the league at any point, but he did what was required of him for the New York Giants, and they're able to win 2 Super Bowls with him. So, I think it's, from an offensive side of the point of view, I think the Giants are well equipped in the future. One thing I do have a worry for the Giants, and I do think when it comes to progressing or being able to sustain success, that defense has to do better. And like you see that video of Brian Burns complaining of like dropping 8 in coverage when, the Broncos were trying to drive forward for the game-winning field goal. With all the talent that the Giants have on defense with Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, Abdul Carr, Dexter Lawrence, and more, shouldn't be conceding 25 points, over 25 points a game, and being 23rd in scoring defense. And when you have a schedule that is Eagles away, Niners at home, Bears away, Packers at home, Lions away, and so on and so forth. You have the Commanders again, the Cowboys. Like, the defense needs to measure up and needs to be better. And yeah, this season when it comes to the playoffs, it's a done season. But you look at defensive coordinator Shane Bowen, and there's probably an improvement that needs to be made there. Whether it's him that does it and the team that's able to sort out what the issues are and not being, gashed when the game's close. You look at the Cowboys game, like Cowboys getting into field goal range like that. Same thing with the Broncos like that, and it's like, come on now. like there's barely any time on the clock. Like when Stark scores that touchdown, regardless of McTominay missing the kicks, it's like, you know, you have plenty of time, or there shouldn't be enough time for the Broncos to then make a way back into the game, and they did. So, from a Giants point of view, I'd say that's where I would focus my attention in terms of calling for improvement, because you look at before the season, you would have thought the Giants would have made their mustard on the defensive side of the ball and making the extra investments with bringing in Abdul Carr, when it was like, wait, you have Thibodeau that you drafted a couple of years back. Obviously, Dexter Lawrence is paid and a very established interior D lineman. You've traded for Brian Burns as well. It's like, okay, wait a minute. Like, you should have enough to affect quarterbacks in a meaningful way, and Brian Burns is very much doing that, but it shouldn't lead to 25 points a game conceded. There should be a lot more done in the area, and yeah, season's over in a playoff sense, but yeah, that defense got to improve, but hey ho, there's reason for excitement because Jackson Dart is in town. Oh, surprise, surprise, the Jets lost again. Yep, 13-9 to the Panthers, which puts them now at 0-7. And all is looking wrong in the world of the New York Jets at the moment. You have Woody Johnson at the owners' meetings, league meetings, saying that he's backing Aaron Glenn, which, on its surface, when you cut it off there, looks very good. And it's like, okay, yeah, you know what? Yeah, it's looking bad right now, but he's putting faith in the head coach. He's not going to make an erratic fire like he did last year at the end of after the London game of, oh, he embarrassed me in front of my London British friends, so I'm going to sack the coach and we're just going to tail off from there. It's like, okay, I'm going to be measured. Like, you know what? It's very tough when you've got a quarterback play like that, and it's like, what? You just straight up calling out the quarterback play of Justin Fields, which hasn't been what you would have desired when you signed him to a 2 years, $40 million deal in free agency. But yeah, it's still a bit of a crazy thing to say out in public, just outright calling your quarterback bad. It's not something you really want your owner coming out in public and saying, even if it is true. But yeah, it just seems like with the trade deadline approaching, it's coming out that the Jets are pretty much looking to offload all but offload some players, offload some of the key high paid, high value players that could bring in some extra draft capital, which I guess when you're in the Jets position in your own 7, you are basically mock drafting and scouting, and that is your main focus. Bringing in the off season your main focus now when you're the Jets, because unless you're gonna rattle off 10 straight, which no, it's kind of the position you kind of put yourselves in. So Connor Hughes, who's I'm assuming is a Jets sort of insider or has sources within the league, is saying what's the values of certain high level players on the Jets roster would be able to garner across the league among other front offices, with Quinnen Williams, obviously interior D lineman, who is very highly rated and already got paid. It was a top, I think, second overall pick in 2019 after Kyler Murray. Would garner a second rounder. Jermaine Johnson, edge rusher, get a third rounder. Will McDonald, another first round edge rusher, would be a third, potentially a second. Breece Hall, a fifth rounder, which I guess given the value of the running back position sort of makes sense despite his age. He's only been in the league 2-3 years. It's like, well, we could get some of the value with that fifth round pick. Annoyingly enough, he's like a Kyron Williams and other players of that sort of draft capital. Miles Carter the second and Quincy Williams looking like day 3 picks. It's like, yeah, it's fire sale time in Jetsland, and it's unfortunate, but it's the way the cookie crumbles when you've got a new head coach, especially when you're starting season 0-7. It's like, okay, I need to know who's ready to go down with the ship. and you've already signed Garrett Wilson and sourced to big deals, you are committed to them and you hope they're committed to you, and they're not deals that you would make in middle of the season. So these are the sort of players who either on end of their big deals or just about to hit their extension eligibility. It's like, okay, let's get the value out of them while we can because they're the previous regime's players. So it is interesting because these are all players that could very much make big contributions to teams that do have playoff and potentially Super Bowl aspirations. Like, I don't know how likely it would be to make an in-division trade, but if you're the Buffalo Bills and Quinton Williams is available, I would happily send over a second-round pick to shore up what has been our big struggle in the recent years, which is rushing defense. Well, not the years, but definitely this season, it's been a worry and they've been gashed in that sense. So bringing in Quinton Williams would definitely shore that up and make that less of a kind of weakness that offenses will likely expose. Obviously, the Niners have been very heavily linked to Jermaine Johnson. It also is said that the Jets have made outgoing calls regarding Jermaine Johnson in terms of, okay, he's available, here's our price, and this is what we'd be willing to take in order for you to have Jermaine Johnson's rights. Which, again, if you're the Niners in a situation where Bryce Huff, who put in a very good performance on Sunday night against the Falcons, but with Bosa out, it is still a case of let's bookend it, let's rotate, which has been the very big benefit for teams at that higher level, is that they're able to rotate the edge rushers, keep them fresh so that they can pass rush at a very energetic and quick level, which obviously affecting the quarterback is something. And Jermaine Johnson, whatever the Jets have not been able to win, like they've been able to have those sorts of high level players get to the quarterback and keep offenses many at bay. Like the last two games, they conceded 13 and 13. They conceded 13 both times, and for most teams that would end up with 2 wins, but unfortunately for the Jets in their current state, that's end up in 0-2 run, which obviously comes off the back of an 0-5 run. So changes need to be made. Breece Hall, obviously, if the Chiefs have any sort of reason to make a move, it would be for the running back position, and it would be for someone like Breece Hall, who would open up so much and give so much more and add so much to the offense in terms of being able to receive out of the backfield and being that sort of just dynamic runner, which question marks over whether Isaiah Pacheco or Kareem Hunt at his current state could contribute that. I think that move for the Chiefs would just take them up to another level, and if a fifth round pick is what it would take when you'd be at the back of the 5th round and you're a Chiefs team that tends to lose coaches or lose high level free agents, well, you get that 5th rounder back anyway in a compensatory fashion. So I'd chase that all day if that's what the price is from a Chiefs perspective. I don't know what other teams don't come to head at the moment, but Breece Hall's definitely someone who could make a very big impact to a team that is looking to compete. And if what we've seen in the past is that when players come from teams that are bad and historically have been bad and have been losing for their entire career, well, when they get the opportunity to play for a team that's at that higher level and at that position where the games mean something, they give it their all and they go for the jugular. And whether they've got the money or not, it's a position that they've been almost praying for their whole career. And I think there's definitely value to be had here from a playoff team's perspective in getting a Quinton Williams, a Breece Hall, a Quincy Williams. God, as a Falcons fan, do I want Quincy Williams, especially with Devon Diablo injured now. Someone in that linebacker play going sideline to sideline, just stopping the run, which obviously gashed us this past week, and I'm very disappointed with. But if that's someone that you can bring in, then bite your hand off, take the pick day 3 as well, and keep it moving. So it's very interesting. Definitely a space to watch from an NFL standpoint, especially the trade deadline comes along. It's like, what moves are made, especially with the Jets, because their season's done, but these players can surely be there in February if the right team makes a move for them, because they can definitely be impact players for a team when it's all said and done.
All right, it's time for your favorite part of the podcast and mine. It's time for the Pick Six. Yeah, see, everyone's saying it with me. Love to see it. Where we pick 6 games over the weekend against the spread, and see how we play up, do across the season, keep track, collect the score, and unfortunately, it's not been going so well this season. Last week went 2-4, puts our total record at 17-24. So fair to say that this is less than savoury result, considering how things are meant to go. It wasn't meant to go like this. It wasn't meant to be like this. It was meant to be cashing, checks everywhere, picking the field, seeing the way the league's going to go, and it just hasn't been the case. So let's just recap on last week real quick. First up, Bucks plus 5.5 at the lines. Monday Night Football. Yep, the luck ran out. The magic ran out for the Bucks offense. They only were able to put up 9 points on a depleted Lions defense, but Calvin Shepherd, has defensive coordinator for the Lions, has those boys running. So kind of hold your hands up and say that was 9-24-9, so 15 points, so 10 off. Tough. Packers -6.5 at the Cardinals, just not good at covering the spread this season. Green Bay -6.5, even with a Micah first 3-sack game of his career, wasn't able to get the touchdown that I needed for the 6.5 to cover. So hold your hands up and again say whatever, move on. Panthers -1.5 at the Jets. Jets weren't going to win this one. Honestly, it's tough to see whether the Jets win any games this season, and the covering's even less. It's just a tough way to see. And as he said in the last section, that the New York Jets just fire sale mode and mock draft season mode, and just nothing that leads to winning games this season. So obviously that's 0-17 watch for them. Jags +3 versus the Rams. I was there. There was a mugging. It was a beating. It was any sort of belt to arse sort of word or description you want to use. That's what happened on Sunday at Wembley, when the Rams just took the old yeller to the woodshed and battered the Jacksonville Jaguars, and only garbage time points that the Jags got. If anything, it should have been a shutout, but take your foot off the pedal. You think about getting back home from the London rain, and you let some points on the board, but the +3 wasn't there. Commanders -1.5 at the Cowboys. Honestly, the even with Jaden, this didn't look like hitting. And Mariota comes in. As a Falcons fan, I very much know that Marcus Mariota does not lead to many wins for your team, and especially that pick 6 of Deron Bland kind of showed it that this guy's going to make a couple of bonehead plays a week, and then thankfully a little bit of saving grace. Seahawks -3 versus Texans on Monday Night Football. Kept the Texans offense at bay. Kind of question mark, like, CJ Stroud's just kind of been on a sharp decline since his rookie year. Texans need to sort something out in that regard. And moving on to this week, and what this week's going to pick. This week's picks are going to be number 1, first up, San Francisco 49ers, +1.5 underdogs at Houston against the Texans. Did Vegas not watch Sunday night against the Falcons the way that Kittle's return allowed and facilitated for CMC to just dominate the whole proceedings of the game, and whether the I guess the Texans' defense is the strength of the team, but the Falcons' strength of the team is a defense, and that didn't stop McCaffrey and the offensive line from being able to run at will. And I don't see why they wouldn't be able to take that over to Houston and be able to run to a point of getting an outright win, let alone losing by a point. And then you consider the fact that there's no Nico Collins, there's no Christian Kirk, and you're like, well, hold on a minute. How are the Texans going to get the points against a Robert Saleh led defense that doesn't matter where there's no Bosa and no Fred. They can keep you at bay if you're not on job, and the Texans' offense has not been performing in a way to where you would back them to get a win here. And Mac Jones is doing perfectly fine holding the fort while Brock Purdy's out and taking care of the ball. The interception on Sunday wasn't on him. The ball comes out of Jawan Jennings' hands, and you say, well, as long as Mac keeps protecting the ball as he has been, and Shanahan and Salah remain on the fine form they've been, this is a easy win. This is a win for the Niners, let alone a +1.5 spread. So I'll take that, and appreciate the free win. Vegas, I do need them. Second up, Bengals -6.5 against the Jets. The Jets, as I said, lifeless, unsure how they're going to be able to keep away from an 0-17 season, just game by game. You're looking at it and say, they may get one, but it's like in individual settings, is this the one? You just don't know. Like Flacco's breathing new life into this Bengals team. You saw on Thursday night he was able to win the Yunk Bowl and get the ball over to Jamar Chase, 23 targets, get the ball over to Higgins. He got a touchdown. They're on 10 days rest after Thursday night football, so they're going into this at home a little bit rejuvenated. You look at the Steelers and how often they are running man coverage, and the Jets run a similar scheme. They're top 10 in man coverage and how often they deploy that as well. And with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and even on the Jets side, Sauce Gardner, we don't know whether he'll play. It's unlikely. It just feels the Bengals are going to be able to put up points on their side, and the Jets, with the quarterback issues, unsure whether they'll be able to put points up on their side. Therefore, Bengals -6.5 looks very good. So, moving on to the third one, got Bills -7 at the Panthers. It looks like Andy Dalton hoops for this week, and against the Bills team that's coming off their bye week, it's like, I don't know. Like, I get the vibes are really good in Carolina, and they're on a 3-game winning streak, but your wins are the Dolphins, the Cowboys, and the Jets. I just don't know how, with your backup quarterback now, who Bryce, wasn't exactly setting the world alight in either of those games. It was more off your run game. I just don't know if they can, keep up with Buffalo, really, who off of a 2-game losing streak with a bye. It just feels like, let's not forget who Josh Allen is. Let's not forget who the reigning MVP is, walking into Carolina with vengeance on his mind, realistically, with a week to rest. Just don't know if it just feels like the Panthers are gonna be on the other side of something here. Not something catastrophic, but I feel like the -7, I can see it, 24-14, 34-24. If you say Rico Dowdle has a game, I just see the Bills being able to get the points they require for a comfortable win here. Next up, Bears +6.5 at the Ravens. It's until proven otherwise, I'm not going to trust this Ravens defense to be able to stop much happening here. And the Bears, who have had a run game that has been very efficient, to believe, with Swift, and we don't believe the run game is good. We've seen it, it's happened, with Swift, Monongai even coming in, getting his reps as well. Caleb with his scramble drill, he's been able to make some plays here and there. Lamar's status still in question for this game, so we'll kind of play it by ear or by whether Lamar's able to make himself featured in this game. But it's the fact that regardless of the quarterbacks at play here. A 1-5 team is at home to a 4-2 team, and they're 6.5-point favorites. I just don't know whether that's a fair line, even with Lamar in the game or not. So I'll happily take the Bears plus 6.5 because I feel this is gonna have points on both sides, and it feels like a field goal in it either way, or 6 points. I just don't feel the 7 points win on the Ravens side is the way it's going to go. So I'll take the Bears plus 6.5 here. Next up, Cowboys plus 3.5 at the Broncos. Guess we've seen the Broncos, if you've got a good game plan in mind, can be had and can be, can have points put on them. Like they'll get yours, but you'll get yours. So it's going to be a case of, who gets more. And the Cowboys offense with Dak, CD's back, Pickens, it's just an explosive way to go. And even Javonte Williams in the backfield, the Cowboys O-line getting healthy. I'm not going to fully stake a claim to a Cowboys win here, but keeping this one within a field goal, I do think the Cowboys are good money for the plus 3.5 line. And the last up, number 6, Chiefs minus 10.5 at Commanders. Home to the Commanders on Monday Night Football. As I'm recording, it was just confirmed that Jaden Daniels will miss this game, so Marcus Mariota is starting. The Chiefs they're in fine form on both sides of the ball, or the offense and defense. Special teams doing its part as well. Bloody Commanders defense is just going to have the ball moved on them. It's a full strength Chiefs with Rice and Worthy back, and the way it's looking, like the Commanders season just looking lost to injuries and not having a consistent presence with Jaden Daniels and Austin Eckler, Dietrich Wise, Dorrance Armstrong. You're just seeing what's happening on the injury table of the Commanders and who's coming in. It just seems like the Chiefs are going to be able to pick apart this Commanders team, and unsure whether the Commanders will get points on their side as well with their backup quarterback. It seems like McLaurin and Debo will be back. That'll be huge for them, but I just don't feel like the Commanders are going to be able to keep up here, and the Chiefs just seem in such fine form to where they'll win this one by a good amount. The minus 10.5, even though it's a big line, I'm comfortable taking that on the Chiefs side. So there we are. There's my pick 6. And that's episode 11 of the DNP podcast. Thanks for joining. Thanks for listening. Please like, rate, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.